So this is going to be one of those videos where I just kind of hop on the camera and just talk a little bit, just kind of spitball off the top of my head, just kind of what I'm thinking about a particular topic. I've been very busy lately, as you guys maybe know if you've kept up with every single one of my videos. I mentioned this a few times in passing. Had a lot go on down here in this recording room, in this entire basement in general. We had our sump pump go out, water came in, carpet had to come out, shelves had to come down, just about in that order. And we had all new vinyl plank put in. And so now the shelves are going back up, the fragrances are going back up. So I've been very busy, been taking trips as well, just trying to enjoy the start of summer here. And so as I've been kind of getting back to reality a little bit and catching up with some comments here on the channel, I wanted to talk about just kind of the general kind of space of YouTube fragrance content, because it's something that I see brought up all the time. So when you take a look at fragrance content, we'll break down the different types, because there are several different types, okay? First of all, you have the reviews. This is kind of the most basic one. A review is simply taking one fragrance and making it the priority of the entire video, focusing all on that one fragrance to break it down fully, talk about the full development, the scent profile, the performance, the quality, and all of that stuff, right? I do a decent amount of reviews on the channel, not a ton, but a decent amount. Next up, we have first impressions. Again, pretty self-explanatory, but I want to cover all of this. First impressions would be like getting a new fragrance in, a brand new release, and opening it up on camera and smelling it live for the first time to give you my initial impressions. If something sucks, you're going to see my reaction real time. If something is really good, you're going to see my reaction as well. You get the idea. First impressions, I do a good amount of those. As long as they're putting out new fragrances, I'm doing first impressions on really all of them. Next up, you have lists. Now, lists can be a little bit more complex here because there are different ways to go about it, but essentially it's kind of focusing on one singular idea and then compiling a list of fragrances to support that idea. For example, a really easy one, top 10 summer fragrances. If you want to build up a little selection of fragrances to wear throughout the summertime, a list would be the most convenient format to go about searching that out. Instead of looking at a bunch of different reviews and trying to string a bunch of things together, you can click on a list style video and you'll get all of the information you need compiled into that list, usually within a 10 to 20 minute time frame, which is very convenient. Now, lists are kind of the point of contention here with this video, because a lot of people say that there are too many of them, and we'll cover all of that here in a second. The next one would be buying guides, fragrance buying guides. So I like to say that I've done a pretty good job of kind of bringing that to life here, bringing that to fruition. I've got a full buying guide playlist on the channel. I've got 20 plus buying guides, which may not sound like a lot, but when you take into consideration the amount of time, research, effort, and money it takes to create a buying guide, especially in this market, it's pretty substantial. So many fragrance lines out there are so big now, and they're continuing to expand. And so for me to do a buying guide on something, I have to have all of those fragrances. If you take a look at the line of like JPG Le Male, for example, which I have done, tons and tons of flankers, right? You guys know it. That video took a lot of time, a lot of research, a lot of money, and a lot of testing to, understand how each of those fragrances work, how they smell, how they wear, how they perform on my skin. The buying guides are very useful, it seems, but again, there are a lot that goes into them. And that's definitely not something that I could upload every single day or really every single week. It just takes a lot. But again, they do seem to be helpful. Another piece of content or another style would be like the rack store videos, going to a TJ Maxx or Marshalls or that sort of thing, and seeing what their selection is. Those are cool. I've done kind of a similar style with like Dollar General and Dollar Tree, just to be a little bit different. My problem with the rack store videos, not even a problem with the videos necessarily, but my problem with that format is that a lot of times, not always, but a lot of times, the stuff that you'll find there, at least around here, is kind of sometimes even more expensive than discounters. If you're shopping proactively in the right places online, you can get deals that are still better than that of the rack stores if you're looking. You know, sometimes they'll get in some gems that maybe online are inflated or whatever, and that's cool. But if you're trying to score Nautica Voyage or Versace or Mont Blanc or something, a lot of times discounters are going to be your best bet. But those videos are kind of cool to watch and kind of see what's out there floating around in that side of things. I guess another piece of content style would be like comparison videos, talking about the differences between two fragrances that are maybe similar, you know, so just kind of breaking down, you know, potentially clones or that sort of thing. Something that I've done here on the channel is 10 reasons why you should buy X fragrance, right? Talking about all of the benefits of purchasing, you know, Dior Sauvage, for example, just that sort of thing. Now, there's going to be other types out there. There's going to be the fragrance videos that aren't meant to be really informational. They're just meant to be funny, that sort of thing. That's also another style, but I think I've covered all of the main ones. And so one of the main things that you see on YouTube in the comments is that we do too many top 10s. And it's a really strange one, because when I go through and look at my channel, the amount of views that I get on top 10s in comparison to everything else is insane. Like, I can post a top 10 on whatever, a decent topic that a lot of people would resonate with, and it'll get, you know, 15, 20,000 views. It'll get close to 1,000 likes. And not only that, but it'll have a 98 to 99% like to dislike ratio, which is really good. You know, we're talking getting, you know, 700, 800, 900 likes and like 10 dislikes or less, which is really, really good. And that tells me, in conjunction with the views, that that's what people want to see. On the other hand, when I go out and I spend, you know, $80, $100 on a fragrance and I do a review on it, that video will pull, depending on the fragrance, 5, 6, 7,000 views, somewhere around in there, half the amount of likes, sometimes even a few more dislikes thrown in. And so that tells me that people really aren't too curious about the reviews. So you do have these different forms of content out there. Another thing would be you've got the whole designer versus niche thing. Now, here on my channel, I like to try to focus on fragrances that your everyday guy can obtain and get their hands on. Look, I'm in a position with my channel where I could get just about any fragrance that I want. And that sounds like it's some big flex or like I'm being arrogant, but I'm really not. That's not my intention here, but I'm trying to put this into perspective for you. I'm approached by niche brands all the time, just about every single day. I'm talking about brands like Argos, Fragrance Du Bois, Zaharoff, brands like Good Vibes Perfumes, more recent one, Habibi New York. Even Roja has sent me out some things before, which is always nice, but definitely not something that I'm seeking out, you know, to get freebies. I'm approached by a lot of brands, and the vast majority of them, if not just about all of them, I don't really entertain. I ignore them. Roja is a brand that I have accepted freebies from before, only because I've been a customer of them for a long time. But a lot of the other ones, like I just mentioned there, I just ignore. I end up deleting the email. That's not my intention here, because I want to focus on fragrances that you guys can purchase. A lot of the niche brands that are reaching out are producing fragrances that are very expensive, you know, and that's something where a lot of people, especially in an economy like right now, just don't want to be putting their money. And so you do have that different style of content as well. You've got the niche reviews, you've got the niche lists, that sort of thing. And so that's another way that you can go about consuming content on YouTube. There's other channels for that. There's other avenues for that. But here on this channel, my main focus is fragrances that you as an individual, as just a normal, regular guy, can afford to get their hands on and try. You don't have to be, you know, a millionaire or something like that, or just soaking in the money to buy full bottles of these fragrances. The vast majority of the fragrances in my videos are going to be $100 or less, and I throw in a lot of cheapies as well. So I try to make it really affordable. I wear a lot of cheapies. I wear a lot of mid-range fragrances. Even though I have a lot of niche fragrances, even though I have a lot of niche brands trying to send me stuff, I just find happiness and I find, you know, just enjoyment out of just your $30, $50, $75, $80 fragrances. That's just what I like, and so I do videos on them. There's also other kind of strange brands that will reach out to you every now and then. By you, I mean a channel, a reviewer. And I don't mean like fragrance brands. I mean like discount websites or fragrance websites or whatever. Now the main ones, Fragrance Net, Fragrance X, Fragrance Buy, and even Joma Shop has been doing really well of increasing their catalog. They're all 100% authentic brands. I've shopped at each and every one of those websites. I've spent a lot of money on all of those. And so, I've been able to verify the authenticity of their products. But sometimes you'll get a brand like Oceanus, for example, reach out. Now this one, I'm not sure if they're still around or not, but they have reached out to me. I think they've tried to send out niche products to reviewers before. And it's one of those deals where I just felt uncomfortable. I wasn't for sure about the authenticity of their products, their website, their integrity, that sort of thing. You got to think when you're putting in your information on a website, there's a good chance that information could be just used for malicious intent if it's a website that isn't trustworthy. And that's one of those situations where I say, hey, I'm not going to feature them. Even though they're trying to send me some free stuff, maybe they're trying to pay me, I don't want to put my audience at risk, and so I ignore it. There's situations like that where you have to approach it with kind of a level head, a good mindset. And so there's just some things you have to look out for when you're consuming fragrance content. And one of the last things I want to touch on here is I get comments all the time about, oh, you feature the same thing in every single video. Talk about new stuff. And this is always another funny one. And I have the perfect example here on why this doesn't happen. So here's the thing. When it comes to fragrance content, lists, reviews, that sort of thing, a lot of people who are watching these videos are seeking validation. Whether you want to admit it or not, and it's not a bad thing, by the way, but whether you want to see that or not, if you go out and you purchase YSL Eau de Parfum, you're going to find yourself in a lot of situations then hopping on YouTube, hopping on forums, and looking up reviews of YSL Eau de Parfum, trying to convince yourself that you've made the right decision, especially if you were a little bit on the fence. Or maybe you weren't on the fence, but maybe now you're super excited. You purchased it, you pulled the trigger, you're like, yes, I finally bought YSL EDP. I've been seeing videos about it, I love it. I'm going to go back through and read some more stuff and watch some more stuff about it. So you start watching lists that feature it, you start watching reviews. You're trying to absorb all this information, you're trying to get hyped up, you're trying to ultimately seek validation just to kind of back yourself up so that way you know that you made the right decision. It's not just with fragrances. I do this as well in a lot of different avenues with stuff that I'm buying. I'll buy something that I've been wanting for a long time. I'll get super hyped up. Next thing you know, I'm on forums until midnight, 3 in the morning, reading about that thing. Even though I already bought it, no going back now, I'm still reading about it because I'm excited and I want that validation. There's nothing wrong with it, but that is the truth. And so kind of off track there, but still kind of on track. The reason why I don't feature necessarily brand new, different things that no one's ever heard of for a couple of reasons. One of which being a lot of that would be niche products, which again are going to be ridiculously expensive. If I were featuring those, then people will be saying, oh, that stuff's too expensive, I can't afford it, and that's understandable. But I think what people are wanting is designer level stuff that isn't talked about. And the thing with that is that when you're trying to track down and locate new fragrances that no one else has talked about, chances are if it's that under the radar, there aren't going to be samples of it readily available, which means now you're blind buying. And I have blind bought so many fragrances that are complete garbage. I have so many of them that are still boxed up that are literally trash. I don't like them to the point where I don't even want to give them away because they just aren't good. That's money literally wasted, right? Oh, buy, feature new stuff. Well, I tried to go out there and find new stuff, but it's hard, right? You have to blind buy, you're spending a lot of money. It can be challenging. The other reason why is because guess what? What did you know? Those videos that feature stuff that no one knows about get terrible views, just like reviews, just like most buying guides, and just like some first impressions. And I have an example. Last summer, so about a year ago exactly now, I decided to go out there online and track down some summer fragrances that you just have never heard of. And I made an entire video, 10 summer designer fragrances you've never heard of, not so ordinary summer colognes for men. I made this video 1 year ago, over a year ago. Guess how many views that video has? 11,000. Okay, and that may sound great, 11,000, until you see this next statistic here. And one thing I also want to point out, in the thumbnail of that video, which is important, I featured Michael Kors Extreme Rush, I featured Davidoff Adventure, and Encanto Blue by Ferragamo, I believe is what it is. So stuff that just really isn't hyped up. They're just not being talked about. 11,000 views. I spent a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of research on that video, and in comparison, it did terrible, because when you look at my video that I just uploaded 3 weeks ago, my top 10 best summer designer fragrances for 2022, 3 weeks ago, 44,000 views, okay? In that thumbnail, we have Versace Havas, we have Pepe Jean's Cocktail, and we have YSLY Eau de Parfum. 2 hype monsters and one that's somewhat known a little bit. It completely destroyed that video. It destroyed that video within probably 3 or 4 days, right? That is why myself and probably a lot of others don't feature new and different stuff, because that's not where it is, right? This should go without saying, but the viewers, the audience dictates the type of content that we see on YouTube. And unless the audience changes and starts to support reviews and buying guides and that sort of thing, and new, different, exciting fragrances, then you're not going to get it. And that's just how it is. Because here's the thing, if I could find some completely random different fragrance that no one has ever talked about and upload a review on it and have that review get 15 or 20,000 views because it's different and new and everyone wants it, I would do that. But I can guarantee you, if I took one of those fragrances from that summer fragrances video that no one's heard about and I did a standalone review, you're looking at 3,000-4,000 views, maybe 5,000 at the max. And what that does is it does damage to the channel. It kills my momentum. It messes with the algorithm. It is not worth it. So because of that, I'm just not going to do it. So that's just kind of where I'm at. A little bit of a rant, but also just kind of a way for me to just kind of level with you guys and talk a little bit about content on YouTube. I want to remind you guys to stay safe. You know, when it comes to blind buying, always do your due diligence and sample. Always make sure that what you're considering to purchase is within your realm of taste, right? If you're into freshies and you're trying to purchase a Mancera Oud line, for example, which is a super strong, skanky oud fragrance, you are in the wrong spot. And it should be no question that you need to move to some other area and do not blind buy. Got to use common sense. You have to make sure you're doing your research here. And also, when it comes to niche products, you know, don't believe everything you see. Don't take everything as the gospel, right? There are a lot of niche freebies floating around out there. Again, I turn down a ton of them. The majority of them that try to come my way, I just don't entertain, because I want to keep it realistic for my audience. Same thing with you know, fragrance websites, discounters, whatever. There's a good, you know, 4 or 5 of them that are really authentic and great. There's a lot of other ones kind of floating around out there that you just never know about. Even if they're popping up, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're great places to shop at. And so that's going to do it for me. That's kind of just the area of fragrance content on YouTube right now, and just kind of how things are going here. If you want to start seeing different stuff, you got to support it. Another point I wanted to bring up was people say that designer brands produce and release everything that smells the same. That is true. But you know why they don't put out stuff that's 100% different? Because they're not supported, right? Light Blue Forever and Light Blue Italian Love. 2 fragrances that are unique and different are getting crapped on, and both are now discontinued because people don't support them. That's why brands don't put out new stuff, because people just can't handle it. So if you want to see new innovative content or products from brands, you gotta support them. Otherwise, we're not gonna get it. That's gonna do it for me. Let me know your thoughts on fragrance content down below, and thank you so much for sticking around on the channel. I post reviews, first impressions on new stuff, lists, all that sort of stuff here on a daily basis. And also on my community tab, I help you guys save a lot of money. Post deals every single day just about on some of the lowest prices online for fragrances. So make sure you're over there as well. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.